I have a road name change for you all this evening. We currently have an unnamed road 86-100, and this has been requested to be changed to Julius Way. It's been submitted by Rachel Campbell and others. We have 2 structures on that drive. It's located off of Bell Meadow Lane in the Laurel Springs Fire District in Cranberry Township.
I will declare a public hearing for the purpose of anyone who might want to speak to the name change on this road. Not recognize anyone, I will declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion to move forward with the request by Weedy.
Make that motion. I'll second.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion, questions?
So everybody, you said there were 2 structures. Everybody agrees?
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything?
Thank you.
Item C, I saw the Johnson family come in. Recognize Matthew at this time.
My name is Matthew Johnson. I want to talk to you about a possible Eagle Scout project. I would like to make an addition to the Boy Scout and Rescue Squad concession stand. I have a sketch here. I'm going to let y'all pass it around. Since health regulations is getting stricter, we really need a hand wash sink and dishwash sink in the concession stand. If I get this approved, there will no longer be a reason to take up 10 feet of space with a pop-up tent to cover a wash station to follow health regulations. The addition that I would like to do is 8 feet on the end that the door is on. That would give us enough room to put the sinks on the back wall and move the refrigerator into the addition so we can access it better. Are there any questions?
Has everybody had a chance to see what Matthew's talking about? Don, has the fair committee, or is this something that they study, or?
It's something that they have taken up, and I believe that they've already taken up and approved.
Questions about the project that Matthew's talking about? Do we need to give approval to it also?
Yeah, I think that courtesy that was coming for asking for approval on that.
Would entertain a motion to grant Matthew the project to move forward.
I would make that motion.
I would second it. Proudly.
A motion and a second. Discussions or questions of Matthew?
I think it's very admirable. Thank you
Absolutely.
for your hard work. It's wonderful. Thank you.
And you're going to get a lot of work out of your daddy, I understand.
Yeah.
Is that right?
If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Matthew, anything else today?
Call, you know,
Commissioners,
You did very well, man.
You don't need him, Matthew.
I am the secretary to the Fairgrounds Board, and we did take this, we heard this wonderful presentation by Matthew, and it was brought to us on how the permitting would be, because the facility for which that they are constructing this is county property, and would the commissioners be willing to waive the permitting fees for this project?
You've heard the request. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Discussion? Not all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good luck.
Thank you very much for coming.
Matthew, you want to get this done?
yeah. Yes. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Item D on the agenda is the Alleghany Memorial Hospital quarterly report. And Jim, I'll let you come
Thank you for the opportunity to do the report. What I wanted to do is, we have the handout. We had originally submitted a letter showing how we were going to spend the first quarterly payment. We did make some modifications. I did give you this particular handout so I can go through that. One of the things that we were trying to do as we went through the expenditures was to concentrate a little more on the local areas and some of the needs. So we did change from, as we got into the month, we did change a few things on how we were going to expend that money. If you will notice, for the first quarter, we did spend the money for Blue Ridge Electric, $8,882. Blue Ridge X-ray was $10,685. CPSI, that's our computer system that we have, and we did make it. That's a large expenditure. That is as we do further conversion to electronic medical records, which is mandated by the federal government to be completed by 2014. The town of Sparta, G&B Energy and Hometown Oil, that's our heating oil that we have. There's our local, so we wanted to do that. In Cardinal Health Pharmacy, that's the organization that we contract with for our prescription drugs for our medications. So that was a total of $62.5. What we're looking at doing for the second quarter is a slightly different list there. Of course, town of Sparta, Alleghany Solid Waste, Alleghany EMS, G&B and Hometown Energy and Hometown Oil. MedCost is our that is our insurance program for our employees. They manage our income. We have had, incidentally, as a side note, we've had 3 real large employee claims there. That's why you see the cost is going up. We've actually had over $100,000 in 3 employees' claims, very, very ill employees. We're a self-insured program. We actually bumped into our stop-loss insurance. I'm just thank God we have the program for those employees, because they would not have been able to absorb that kind of expense. So that was something that really helped. But we still had to pay some, since we're self-insured, there's still a certain amount of that deductible, and that's what that money will go toward. Cardinal Health Pharmacy, Cardinal Health, those are suppliers, healthcare suppliers, and skilled transcription. Those are people that do our transcription for dictation for the physicians. And then there's media is listed there. So that's how we were looking at it. What I wanted to do is go over this. I have some bullet points I'd like to go over as talking points for what we've been doing since we had last talked. Go back and talk. The census, what we have done in looking, of course, 83% of our admissions are done through the emergency room. And for the month of August, it was very slow. But in September, it really stepped up, and it's continued to be here and into October. So we're very pleased with the change. The sad part about that is you're hoping that you're busy, but at the same time, you don't want people to be sick. So it's really a tough situation for us to say, wow, we don't want people to be sick, and so they're not going to come. We do have a situation where we say, if you're going to be sick, we want you to come to Alleghany Memorial Hospital. I know we have some EMS employees that do work in our emergency room, and a number of days I could make rounds and I'd be talking to the EMS, and they've gone periods of time where they go 24 hours, there's maybe 1 call. So if they're not getting any calls, we're not getting the more serious positions, and Dawn and I have talked about that. So, but it has picked up, and we're doing very well there. The Golden Leaf money was approved. We were approved for $500,000. That is the total for our share, which was the health department. They're the leaders on that grant. They will receive $200,000. We received $300,000. What they have allowed for us is, for the hospital, is $200,000 for the physician's salary and $100,000 toward the nurse practitioner. What we have done is we're going through, that'll be effective September 1st, so we have money that we're going to be submitting back to the Gold Leaf as we go through the process. It's a very detailed process. Beth Lovett at the Health Department is she's the leader on the grant since it was under the Health Department. And they redid their budget, they submitted the stuff, and what we're waiting for now is that what paperwork we need to do in order to draw down that money. And we're hoping we can do it either this month or the first of next month. But we'll be able to backdate, or not backdate, but bill for that, give them expenses through September 1st, so that allows us to do that. So we're moving forward with that. We continue working with Wake Forest Baptist Hospital to develop and work with them to bring in specialists. We do have a specialty clinic we had repainted where Dr. Bryant used to be. We've taken that area and just changed it around a little bit, so now we can do a time shift. So we have a very nice clinic, as we talk to Baptists and other hospitals, to allow them to come in and open up clinics. So we're working very diligently on that. Those are things that just don't happen overnight, unfortunately. I wish they did, but they don't. We also, 2 weeks ago now, the 27th of September, our board from the hospital and the board of Hugh Chatham met. We discussed things. David Loving and I have meetings next week as follow-up. That's also to help further develop clinical space. And I also have meetings coming up next week with John Applebaum, who is the administrator over at Twin Counties, so that we can look and try to work deals, or not deals, but arrangements with them for special clinics as we continue to recruit for special clinics. We've done a number of cost-saving steps, and I wanted to go over those real quick. We have developed a more extensive staffing program. 3 years ago, before I got here, they had done a really, I think, a very, very good job of right-sizing. I call it right-sizing, in other words, having the number of employees necessary to run the hospital. The key to that is what we call flexing, and that is that you flex and staff according to the census. So if the census is down, then the number of employees working, so therefore you don't have those expenses. It's kind of hard to do that with maintenance, for example, and Trevor Nichols and I talked about this at length. We do theirs on work orders, based on work orders, so that the number of work orders they have, if they don't have the work orders, then they will flex off and someone will go home. So we're looking very diligently, since approximately 60% of your cost is salary. So we're doing they were doing a good job, but we're tightening that up a little even further, looking at that. We've taken steps as we reorganize our billing and collections department. Sometimes as you go through, this person does better with this company, Blue Cross Blue Shield, for example. This employee is really good with Medicare. And what we had is some of those split up. So what we have done is saying, okay, this person's really good for Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Let's move them over into that so they can work harder, or not harder, but more efficiently on collecting, because they're all a little bit different. All the payers are a little different. We've hired another PTA, which is a physical therapy assistant. The reason we've done that is the business has increased. We're getting a lot of referrals, particularly out of Dr. Schneider's orthopedic clinic, and Michael Barris, who is the PA. He comes on Thursday. They're part of the same clinic out of Hugh Chatham. That business has continued to increase. We have Dr. Stauffer, who is a podiatrist. He has a clinic in Elkin and also in King, and he's bought some land in the county here and down on the river, and he's starting to, as he works, he's trying to start moving his business this way, and he's coming to do surgery twice a month. He came in September twice a month, and he'll be doing hopefully again twice a month this week, so we've increased the surgery there. We have refinanced the debt service. It's been completed. We keep a very low rate and the same retirement date for the payment each month. But what this has done for us is has decreased our monthly payments for retiring the debt service considerably. So it really helps us with our cash flow. At the same time, We have completed refinancing of the Lisa CT scanner. Actually, the payment for that one will reduce by 43%. So we've been able to redo that, so that also helps in our cash flow. And we have renegotiated our contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was a small increase, but we were able to receive a 3% increase in our payments from Blue Cross Blue Shield, which it's not a lot, but it's sure better than the decrease that a lot of people are seeing. So we've been doing that. Dr. Roche and Dr. Greenfield's clinics, especially Dr. Roche's clinic, has really taken off. He's done very well. So we're really pleased as we move forward. We have some other stuff that we're working on, but it's a little premature to bring up at a meeting like this, because we're not, you know, we might not be able to get everything we want, so that's what we have to work at. So that's my report for what we've been working on since we last talked. I think there's a lot more to come, but we just have to work our way through the program, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening and kind of give you an update of where we are. So, questions
or comments from the board? Jim, I would be interested in hearing the commissioners. To me, this is exactly what I thought we should get, and I appreciate the way you've taken time and outlined how that money is being spent. I'll let any of the other commissioners, if y'all are not satisfied, I'm sure Jim would be pleased to hear if you would like for it to be in a different form, or are you pleased with the manner in which he's made his presentation?
Personally, I'm glad to see where it's going. I was curious though with Dr. Greenfield. The last time we talked, and then I think you mentioned Dr. Greenfield and Dr. Arosha in the same breath. Are they both hospital employees now?
Yes, we have put them in the clinic. We had the orthopedic clinic in there. This is in the building right as you go up towards the front entrance. This is the medical office clinic right there. We have one clinic name. We didn't want to have to do two numbers, and you know, and as an employee, they can use the hospital number for billing for Medicare and Medicaid. So it makes it more efficient to do that. They are both employees of the hospital. That's why we were able to get the Golden Leaf money, because they are employees of the hospital, because the hospital is one of the recipients in that grant. So yes, they are both employees, and Dr. Greenfield, in fact, what we've done with him also is taken him out. He and I are going on the speaker circuit here, coming up later, middle of this month. And but also we have done some advertising in Independence with Dr. Lovelace's practice closed over there. We've gone over there to, and he's picked up a number of patients from Dr. Lovelace's practice, and she has moved. And Dr. Rocha has been very busy. He was busy the first week was a nightmare, because you never expect the practice to take off. So we had some, like any new practice you have, oh my God, we got to get this. We missed this piece, and just getting it organized. So the first week was really difficult. But after that, we jumped in there, corrected the things we needed to do. So he's done very well. They both serve as hospitalists. Dr. Rocha does 2 weeks a month, and Dr. Greenfield does 1 week a month. And then Dr. Barris from Independence does the other week. So those are our 3 hospitalists that run that. But Dr. Greenfield and Dr. Rocha, yes, are employees of the hospital.
And just one other thing, you had mentioned that Dr. Stouffer and some other physicians from Elkin or Ashcan or wherever come up. There was do we have a urologist that comes on
No.
a regular basis?
The neurology for a hospital, like many rural hospitals, comes through Wake Forest, and we have a robot. We actually have a robot in the emergency room. So when a neurological case comes in, we activate the robot, and we can actually, in fact, we just got a new robot this past month. But it's, telemedicine is very good for that particular discipline. And so Baptist, in fact, we just had a conference call a week ago. What we've done is able to work through Baptist, and you can take the robot is looking at you, and you're looking at the person you're talking to. So the physician on the other end, you see his picture, and he talks to you. And they can do, that's what's nice about neurology, is that they can do a study right there in the emergency room. and determine where the patient is, and 57% of the time, we can initiate TPA, which is a blood clotting drug for a stroke patient. And what you're able to do is keep that patient in, you can do the medication, and you can keep them in our hospital 57% of the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I could give more of it,
That's,
sorry.
that's plenty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim, but I remember 83% of admissions are through the emergency room, which
Yes.
means 17% are local physicians.
Yes.
Physicians. Is that kind of out of kilter a little bit?
No, my last hospital was 75% from the emergency room. That's not uncommon today, especially when you develop a hospitalist program, because it allows the patient to come in, and with the billing the way it is, the bills kind of go together at that point. But that's not uncommon. I've seen it as low as 72%, but that's not uncommon. We're probably a little bit on the higher side, I would say, from a percentage.
To touch a little on that, how do you see the trend really in the admissions, from like when you took over and with the addition of Dr. Greenfield, and I know you said that no one's getting sick, but
Yeah.
do you see it trending upwards, staying flat, downward?
Right now, well, two things. It's interesting is I really struggled with August because it was just not a good month. But when you talk to, one of the things I do is I'll call or talk to other administrators of other hospitals, and what I found is everybody had a bad August, incidentally. Not even here, but in Tennessee and Texas, some people I talked to. So that was one piece, so you can't panic on that. However, what I see for us is that for right now, it seems to stabilize a little bit, but as the winter comes on, that'll go up. Yeah, that'll go up. It always does. Summer is your tough, July and August are tough months, and sometimes, depending on the weather, May, some people, the sad part about it is, that's terrible to say, the situation is that sometimes people aren't sick. From a hospital standpoint, we say the sad part is they're not sick, so they're not coming. But the realization is, as Dr. Kahn and I talked about, is sometimes he says, maybe what we're doing in our office is working to keep them out of the hospital. And that's kind of where healthcare is going a little bit anyway.
I think maybe with the addition of the clinics that, the hospital can pick some of that business up.
Oh, it does. And it has increased with those two gentlemen coming in. It has increased our inpatient, or our lab procedures. Dr. Schneider's very busy, and that's picked up the MRI, except for one Sunday we only had 3. But usually we've been seeing anywhere from 8 to 10 MRIs when the MRI comes in on every other Sunday. So that's good. I'd like to get that to every Sunday, but we're not quite there yet.
Thank you.
Jim, what is your actual relationship with Baptist at this point?
We have an affiliation agreement with them. We already have one, but it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's inactive, I don't want to say it that way, is that for me, that's why we need to go talk to them and say, we need to either say, we're going to have some specialists and we're going to work out what we can, or we need to find someone else to partner with. That's my frustrating part here, is getting to them and saying the importance of what we need for them to be coming in to help us with some of the specialists. So there is an agreement already. I was kind of laughing at myself with Warren Taylor. We were having this discussion at one of the board meetings, and he was sitting there and he says, because we were talking about Baptist and developed that relationship, and he said, we had this affiliation agreement. What we need to do is, I don't want to say enforce it, but really push it. So that's what I've been trying to do, is get involved in that.
And Jim, you mentioned everything, but to follow on that, you mentioned that the boards of New Chatham and Alleghany had met.
Yes.
This was in relation to filling positions with the clinic, is that right?
Well, what it is, it's a working relationship we have. We try to make sure we maintain a friendly relationship with them so that David and I can work together. In other words, it's the board supporting the board. It was a dinner we had at High Meadows. Excuse me, and what we wanted to do is make sure that both boards are in agreement, as David and I, we work together on trying to do that. They have the same challenge. First of all, they have the challenge Baptist and Forsyth hospitals, because they're taking people out of that end of their, and they don't have a mountain to go down, so people just hop on the freeway and go over. So they have to be careful themselves of losing patients the other direction. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a good working relationship. And David and I can try to do is he recruits, for example, pulmonologists he's working on. What he's trying to do is recruit a pulmonologist, which is not easy. That way he's recruiting them on the basis that they would spend a day, come up a day a week or a day every 2 weeks to a clinic up here, this clinic that I was talking about. That's the purpose.
Would you describe this relationship as a partnership?
No, I would say more of an affiliation. There's nothing in writing.
And you mentioned Twin County as well. Could you elaborate on that relationship?
Yeah, there isn't much of a relationship there right now. I happen to know, it's funny, David Loving and I had worked for the same organization prior, when I worked for Mercy prior to coming, so we know each other now fairly well because we knew everybody. John Applebaum and I he's administrator over at Twin Counties, and he and I have a meeting with him next week. And he and I had a working relationship. We were both administrators at 2 hospitals in West Virginia, and we were part of a larger Southern Hospital group system that was loosely affiliated, and we did purchasing through that group. So John and I have a relationship from the past. So we're looking at what we can do with them. So this isn't my initial contact with them. We have not really had anything in the past. There's been some things. Dr. Perry came over here at one point. And I've been talking to some different physicians about what we need to do.
Well, I think it's a good idea to reach out to similar organizations nearby and, lean on each other if you can, if you need to. Has there been any contact with Ashe County Hospital?
Well, Ashe County is actually, is right now through next August, is managed by quorum. So we already have R.D. Williams and I have already had a number of meetings together at different quorum meetings.
So in a sense, what you're doing is networking.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the key.
I had a question or just a comment on the 83%. That number got my attention too.
Yeah.
And I know that in a recent article I read by Paul Choate, that Alleghany is the highest number of uninsured in this whole region, this whole area. So don't you think that feeds into your, I thought it was a high number, 83%, but people are going there and receiving the highest cost, treatment that costs the most, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I wish I don't have any numbers right now because it's too close to the end of the month. September 30th was our not only the month ending, but the year ending, so I don't have the total figures. But if you take a look at some of our figures that we talked about, and I don't know what the final figure is, but we had like $1.6 million in projected uncompensated care for our hospital, which is a huge number. And that shows, you're right about the emergency room, a lot of uninsured come to that. So that's something that we need to look at. But being cost-based, we're allowed to use some of that cost. And then they do a Medicare and a Medicaid cost settlement. It's not right away, but we get a cost settlement after the first of the year for a lot of that uncompensated care. Now the problem is we don't know exactly as it moves forward. Those percentages of allowable cost are going to change, but we don't know exactly where they're going right now.
Do you have any comments about indigent services?
I would be, yeah, because number one, when you take a look at that $1.6 million, that's a lot of money, but that's a lot of care. And to me, we're providing that care. That's to me why this money is also so very important, because it's helping everybody, whether people like it or not, it helps us share and help do the uncompensated care. We can't do anything about the, when you take a look at the jobs and the lack of jobs, that's one thing. But what we're looking at is trying to help those that are here that do not have insurance. Even in 2014, when you have everyone's under the Affordable Care Act, and we don't know what's going to happen after November, but right now, if you are a family of 34 I'm sorry, 4, I'm sorry. A family of 4, yeah, 34, that's a pretty good guy. Sorry about that. A family of 4 with an income of $34,000. What's interesting is it will cost you, under the Affordable Care Act, it'll cost you approximately $11,500 for your insurance program, for your insurance to be insured, of which the government will pick up under that program $10,000, which means that that person will have to pay approximately $1,300 a year for their insurance. And they're saying, okay, they'll have insurance, and that's what the government is banking on as they do some of the other reductions on our reimbursement. However, what the part that's disturbing for me is that that person, that family, will have a $6,000 deductible. So yes, they'll have insurance, and they're going to have what they call the bronze package, but they will have a $6,000 deductible. So we're still going to be giving away some free care when they come to the emergency room. And I don't want to, we could talk all night on the Affordable Care Act, but that's part of the dilemma that I see happening. With the physician, the key will get into a physician's office because it'll only be a $25 copay, and they'll be able to get the health care, and that's where we want those people to go, is to the physician office and help. So that's why we have Dr. Greenfield in, along with the other physicians.
We want to up the admission to the doctors and lower the admission to the ER.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
It's a balancing act, you know. It's really
I
tough.
appreciate you addressing that.
Yeah.
Because I do know that that was one of the real problems, and it continues to be all over. But I do want to say I thank you for putting this in this format. It helps me because I was one of the people who talked about particular things such as oil bills, light bills, that sort of thing, and I appreciate that. This looks good.
It's critical that we list that because those are critical things for us.
Well, and it helps us tell people how their money's being spent, how you're using it.
Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Item E on the agenda is David Evans' Recreation Annual Report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I have handed you a short little document here. And again, just to I'll kind of go through the document real quick. I'm not gonna touch on some of the stuff, but I did give it for you guys as information. In particularly the Duncan Recreation revenues, because we did make some changes this year, which I'll get to in just a moment. But I will not be going through that, but if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to ask. But I will just start at the beginning. Our Recreation Department offers 5 sports programs for children. Those are summer tennis program, our Dixie League program, which is baseball and softball, youth basketball, youth soccer, and youth volleyball. We have 5 children that participate in our summer tennis program, and that's daily, and that is an average, because one day you might get 1 kid, and then that kid might not come back till next week. But on average, we have about 5 kids every day. Some days we had 10 or 14, 15 kids. Other days we had 2 or 3. We have a total of 175 kids in our Dixie League program, and that goes all the way from T-ball all the way up to 12 years old, which is ozone or major softball. We had 133 kids in our youth basketball program, and this was the 2011-2012 season, because it is October. We're getting ready to crank up our basketball season this year. So those numbers are actually last year's. We had 143 kids this year in our fall soccer program. We had 34 kids in our volleyball program this fall. We're no longer participating in Saratoga. Therefore, I will not be delivering a report on football or cheerleading. Jumping right into the Duncan Rec Center, which is the name of our outdoor seasonal pool. It opened the first week of June and remained open until school started the 1st of August. We instituted a new attendance plan for the pool this year. We gave out waterproof wristbands to each paying customer. We kept these color-coded. I had 4 different colors, so every other day we'd switch colors. And then I would switch, and the reason why we would have 2 per day because of adults and kids, because there's two different prices. We count attendance, excuse me, let me back up. This allowed us to better account for all users of the pool and better recognition of the swimmers in the pool because we use very reflective colors, things that you can see very easily. If myself or pool director or Don or any of you guys was to walk around the deck at the pool, you can identify right off the bat if a child is paid or a child had paid. Or if we, bad situation if a child's on the pool floor. We actually tested it, took it down to 8 feet section, just the strap itself, and actually weighted it down with rocks to see if we could actually see it. And believe it or not, it actually lit up pretty good. We count the attendance on day-to-day at the pool, and on average we had 37 children and 35 adults per day. We had 9 pool parties this year. Family memberships are no longer available, so therefore everybody has to pay every day. Our total average attendance was 72 people per day, which is higher than what we had last year. Last year we was in the 60s range, so that's pretty good. All averages are based on 31 total days that we were open this year. In the 5 years that I've been a part of this, we've had the most weather-related closures this year than the past 5 years. I couldn't believe how much thunderstorms and different things that we had this year. But that kind of knocked our number down. We're generally open around 40 to 45 days out of the summer. So that number is a little bit down. Any questions concerning the pool?
Dave, before you move on, just one thing to note to the board that I'm going to try to get some numbers on this for next budget season. What we did do this year was we filled the pool up a couple weeks early, and we went ahead and put our pool cover on. And you have that somewhere else?
No, no.
we put the pool cover on a couple weeks early. And what that did was it heated our pool for us without having to use our own fuel. And by the time we opened the pool, I think we only had to bring it up a couple of degrees. We have an 800-gallon propane tank. Just a reminder to the board, we had to put a new propane heater, and we also bought this cover. We had an 800-gallon propane tank out there. It's filled at 80% capacity, and by the end of the season, we dropped down to 70%. So to kind of give you an idea, that's basically 100 gallons in the season. When we had our previous boiler, it would take us 400 to 500 gallons just to get it heated, fuel. And then in the season's time, we would use 500 to 600 to 700 gallons to maintain the heat. David's employees done a good job after closing every day. They put the cover on unless it rains real hard. If you drive by there and see the cover's not on, that means they had to shut down real quick because of lightning or something like that. They put the cover on every day, and the result is we used about 100 gallons of fuel this year versus hundreds, if not over 1,000 gallons of fuel in the previous years. Okay.
Thank you, Don, for bringing that up. And also, I'd like to also talk and brag on my guards because, we've got some 100-pound lifeguards, and it's not easy to swim and pull that big solar cover out. So I commend those folks. They've done an excellent job this year. Any other questions, concerns on the Duncan Recreation Center? Sam Brown Park, Lions Club, Sam Brown Trail System, and the ropes course. We've made some improvements and repairs to these areas. As we do every year, we always remove all the safety hazards from the playground area. You guys will recall this playground is under standing timber, so we've got poplar trees standing there, so we constantly have hangers and we have dead limbs and things of that nature that we have to take out, so we're more or less preventative measures there. We also redone the walking path from Davis Field parking lot up to that playground area or pavilion area. During a storm late spring, a large wild cherry tree fell through our upper bridge that we constructed on our trail system. We actually got that bridge completed with some community service help. We had some carpenters that had to pull some little time there, and they helped us out tremendously. Got it all put together, and she was up there for about, 8 months or so, and the tree fell through it. So we went up there, and we actually tore the bridge apart piece by piece, took the bolts out and everything, and we salvaged what we could salvage out of it. We actually took those materials, those busted materials, and created another smaller bridge down next to the ropes course, because that stream actually runs all the way down through there, and it's actually the same stream that comes through Krause Park, which I'll get to in just a moment. In lieu of our destroyed bridge, we decided, okay, this might not be such a great idea to put an obvious bridge here. So we took an idea that we did on another piece of the property, which we use a rock crossing. I've seen these in very arid climates, and believe it or not, it's actually working pretty good here. But basically what we did was basically build a retaining wall at the bottom side of the ditch, where the big drainage ditch is, and then we'll take large boulders and pack them in there, and then we'll actually take smaller rocks and level it out. That way when the water comes, it'll either go through it, go out the bottom, or just simply go over the top of the retaining wall. That's working out very well. Plus it's less maintenance on it. We don't have to do anything. Basically go up there and move some dirt around and we're good. We constructed a 150-foot streamside trail running parallel to the ropes course, starting at the entrance. And that's actually where we built the other little bridge there. And it's very small. It's only 3 feet wide. So, and we were, as I said, we were able to use those materials at another location. We've cleared the vegetation for the proposed maintenance access path, but no digging has taken place due to lack of funds and timing. But we did go ahead and remove the vegetation, and we've got a good clear way from our landing zone to our trail system without having to necessarily go the way we've been going, which is basically out the road up by the Lions Club, and then we enter it from that point. Having this maintenance access will drastically help us on time by being able to get materials quicker into the trail system. We have reseeded and reforested most sections of the trail system that were affected by the construction. We still have much work to do on the existing trails to gain full completion. And again, I would like to say this publicly for everybody out there. We are looking for volunteers to assist us in finishing and creating more walking trails within the system. We're also accepting donations to assist with purchasing trash can signage and other necessities for the trail. We're currently planning for 2 kiosks to display rules and regulations, trail park maps, and other information. One will be located at the Lions Club Pavilion, the other at the entrance of the ropes course. And I would like to point out that I did apply for a ATT grant, which is a adopted trail grant, and did not receive that this time. So we're kind of looking at other ways of maybe possibly getting this funded. I've also talked to a couple folks in our community and shown some interest on maybe sponsoring certain items within the trail system. For instance, the kiosk, they'll put their business name or their personal name on that kiosk, and that will be their sponsorship to that particular entity. We have constructed a natural-looking fence surrounding the wetland at the entrance of the ropes course. That's both for aesthetics and for safety. It's full of cattails. I mean, if you've been down by the BDC anywhere, kind of look back towards the high school, there's a little connector trail that was constructed several years ago. That's also the entrance to the ropes course. So we had to do something with the water. So we couldn't necessarily channel it because people wouldn't like that. So we actually constructed a BMP 3 years ago below that to handle all that stormwater runoff. And this past summer, we constructed a 2-rail locust fence around it. And we've wired everything up and back screwed everything in. So everything's working well there. And actually it's doing its job because I haven't seen no trash or no footprints going through the cattails. So either deer or kids or whoever, but it's stopped it. So that's a plus. Any questions on that section?
I've just got a quick comment. That rock bridge, I think I crossed that at least before I got lost trying to get up to the top of that thing. These kiosks, you've got maps, I assume, and
yes, I've been working with the mapping office, and I've actually got a full-size map and got it all detailed out. But basically what we'll do is just blow it up and we'll put it on a metal piece, and then it'll be actually on the kiosk itself.
We need money for the kiosk.
okay.
Yeah, and they're roughly about $1,200 a piece.
So do the trails go all the way to the top of Sand Bay?
They go all the way. They go halfway up the mountain to the last logging road. If you look at it, you'll see the climax timber, the big timber, big mature timber, and then you'll see a kind of a shorter stand of timber. When all that was logged off, when they built Davis Field, they left the logging road at where those two forests meet, and that's the extent that we're at right now. I have been in conversation with some of the scout folks about interest in maybe doing a summit trail, but it will not be an 8-foot wide path like we have now. It'll be more of a 3-foot wide footpath that will meander up to the top of the mountain and back around.
But it's not there now.
It's not there.
Okay. Okay.
And you can actually get a little lost up there because it gets pretty wide open, doesn't it?
I appreciate you. I'm sorry.
You currently found your way in.
I'm proud you did.
Just keep heading downhill. You'll hit road sooner or later. Any other questions? Comments? Davis Field and tennis courts. We constructed a concrete drain going from the pavement to the drain. This was to prevent the erosion of the pavement and dirt between those 2 points. We installed a non-fired clay bricks under the home plate area at Davis Field. We used leftover bricks from the baseball field. As most of you know, Zach Bennett is the head baseball coach, and they actually bought a whole pallet of these non-fired clay bricks, and they were going to redo the mound down at Jarrett Field. So they were all working on that, and some guys were working on senior projects and so forth. Well, they had 40 brick left, and then I was like, well, what are you going to do with those? I don't know. I said, well, we can use them up there at Davis Field. So the baseball program actually donated those 40 brick to our cause, and we were able to remove the plate. And as most folks know, when anybody's tells us, you have 2 batter's boxes. You have a left hand and a right hand. We dug all of it up, went down, and we now have a solid bottom in our where our batter's boxes are. Because if anybody that's played any adult softball or anything, you went up there to the plate, you set the hole. You get up there. You ever see Major League Baseball players sit in the hole? It's because they've got non-fired clay bricks underneath their feet with not dust in the brick dust over top of it. So you never see them being able to dig in the ground. So that was the point and purpose of that. We have reforested the areas surrounding Davis Field, including the banks, line the club pavilion, along the trail system, and also at the ropes course. These seedlings were given by the Soil and Water, and we used approximately 400, which is a lot when you think about trees this big. We spent quite a bit of time, but we've had from what I've gathered, about a 75% success rate. Most of them are living now, so that's great. We leveled the large pad behind the fence in right center field to accommodate our field supplies. And again, let me back up just a little bit. That maintenance trail I was talking about that connects into our trail system, that's where that comes out to. Okay, it's the right center field of Davis Field. Beyond the fence, you see a big pad that we graded off back there. We clean, weed eat, spray fences, and blow off courts during the summer months there at the tennis courts. And the lower 2 courts have been resurfaced due to a grant applied and accepted by the Board of Education. They had hired some guys in and had that done at absolutely no cost to the county. Drainage issues have been resolved on those courts. On those bottom 2 courts, we was having a lot of water stand, and the leaves would get caught up, and then it basically turned into a pond. So we ditched it through the bullpen there at Lady Trojan, and now we don't have any issues right now. Regular maintenance, I would like to touch on this just a little bit because I get tons of people talking and they really don't understand what the record department does. We maintain several different facilities within the county. Our regular maintenance consists of field and grounds maintenance of Davis Field, which is year-round because that is a county facility. Lady Trojan Field, which is seasonal, we'll only keep it up when we're using that facility, either, right now because we've got soccer on it, or during the summer when we've got our softball folks there. Jarrett Field, which is also seasonal, soccer, baseball, softball. Sparta Elementary Field, also seasonal. T-ball field, also seasonal. Piney Creek and Glade Creek fields, which are seasonal as well. And the fairgrounds, and then obviously the fairgrounds are year-round. We maintain these facilities by mowing, weed eating, dragging, lining, removal of weeds on dirt, reseeding outfield areas, and so forth. And I said field, but, you know, what I'm really meaning is the surrounding areas too. You know, we're not gonna go in and mow a Lady Trojans outfield and leave the grandstand grass grow over the press box. No, we're gonna mow the whole area around it, the bowl and everything, okay? So make sure that I'm clear on that. Other facilities that we assist on mowing and maintaining are the county buildings, which include this building, the former administration building up on 90 South Main, library, courthouse, EMS, sheriff's office, health department, landfill, social services, and senior citizens building. And most of the recreation department their work occurs during the months from May to September. Basically, my bulk of all my employees come during the summer months when all the kids are out of school. That's when we really get after it. And we try to help out our county maintenance folks as much as we possibly can. But when it comes this time of the year, we do count on the county maintenance guys to kind of help us out when we get behind a little bit on mowing and maintaining the grounds at our county buildings. We maintain the public boat landing located at Farmers Fish Camp Bridge. We go on Mondays and Fridays every week to empty our trash cans and pick up litter from that area. We network with North Carolina Fish and Wildlife on this due to the fact that they built the landing and the parking area, and we maintain it. Any questions on any of our maintenance duties as recreation? Fairgrounds events for the 2012 season. We had 11 events using the parade grounds, 10 events using the black building, and 3 separate events using the barn area. We have replaced some of the removable letters on the marquee sign. We was getting to the point where we had like 40 C's and 3 A's. So, you know, obviously you can only make so much of it with 3 A's. So we was able to purchase some needed letters there to be able to accommodate our long and lengthy event holders' request. We have been conducting a timber stand improvement plan, which you guys are fully aware of. That consisted of about 25 acres between the Stout House and Bledsoe Creek. Harvest has exceeded expectations over seats, and loggers are currently 90% complete with weather permitting. They will be finished by the end of October. So we're knocking right there on the door. The skid roads that were created to remove the timber will be used as multiple use trails after harvest completion. There will need to be some grade work done before the public can use these trails. We are planning to reforest some areas affected by the harvest, but most of the area will have natural revegetation of the natural species that were taken off the property. Due to some storm damage, we had to remove and haul 3 trees located on the active area of the fairgrounds. You know, the fairgrounds is 80-some acres, and a lot of it's timberland. You know, a lot of people driving by don't think that the fairgrounds is really that big. They just think about where the grandstands are. Well, these 3 trees actually came out of that area. So I just want to make everybody aware of that in case they see some stumps. They go, wait a minute, they cut do timber harvest down here? No, that was storm damage, and we had to get it out.
David, we collected, we were estimating to the board that we were going to do $10,000. You're at $15,000 now?
Yes, sir. We're at 50. So I got that number.
Well, that's
We were at
approximately.
$15,981. And also, I do have our project description here of that particular harvest. So if you guys have any questions on that, be willing to fill those. I would like to recognize the very, very last page, and this is very critical, and I've debated all day today on whether to publicly talk about this. But I think it's important because without these folks, it would be extremely difficult for our recreation department to be successful. In every program that we do, with the exception of our summer tennis program, we have to have sponsorships. And basically, it's a really great marketing tool because anything paper-wise or anything like that, their name's on it, their name's on their shirts, on our schedules or whatever, their name is on it. And I would like to take a moment. We do have 25 sponsors that will come from last year to this year. And these guys, they will sponsor multiple teams, multiple different sports a year. So this is, I mean, it doesn't look like very much. You kind of do the math out, you're like, wait a minute, that don't add up. when you start talking about teams, but these groups really do come through for us, and I'd like to make that known if that's okay with you guys. That's okay. The Alleghany County Rotary Club, Alleghany in Motion, Alleghany Memorial Hospital, Andrews Tree Farms and Nursery, Ashley Flowers Family Dentistry, Blevins Building Supply, Carolina Heating and Air, Foley's Photography, GMB Energy, Grayson Highlands Family Medicine, Grayson National Bank, HIS Commercial Electric, Lyles Lawn Care, Marine Corps League Detention, 1298, Miseratos, Murphy's Tree Farms and Nursery, NAPCO, Ollie's Small World, our Sparta Blue Ridge Medical Group, the Pizzeria, Rotary Club of Alleghany, it's been mentioned twice, Scott's Rental, Sparta Lions Club, Sports Construction Management, VFW Post 7030. And I would like to thank all those folks for their sponsorship and their support of our youth athletics.
Question or comment to David?
I think it was real thorough. Thank you, David. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Item G, general business. Monica, can you get us started on that?
What